Whew. It's been a while since I've done this. The black backdrop and everything. Alright guys, welcome to this special edition Gray Zone episode of Geography Now. Let's begin.
It's time to learn geography now!
Gray Zone.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs, and oh my gosh, golly gee, Jiminy Jillikers, what is this that I am wearing? It is a Geography Now t-shirt, of which you can get at geographynow.com. Check it out on the website, geographynow.com. We got drawstring bags, we got mugs, they're all good stuff, and support the channel. And as I always say, it's not selling out if it's your brand. Anyway, so format-wise, here's how things are going to go down, okay? I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, oh, what about the co-hosts? You know, Hannah, Art, Keith, Noah, Caleb, whatever. We love all of our co-hosts, and they are still always welcome to be a part of these episodes. But you guys have to understand, they also have lives. Their lives don't revolve around Geography Now. Like, Caleb has 2 kids and like another third one coming along the way. Keith and Hannah, they both moved to Florida and Alabama respectively, and Hannah has a kid now. People have lives, you know, and I gotta respect that. But I just want to reach out and say to all my co-hosts, I love all you guys, and if you want, you're still invited to be on this show as co-hosts, okay? But in the meantime, I also want to keep these videos a little bit more condensed and shorter. I know some of you guys were even exhausted when the videos were like over 30 minutes long, and you're like, can you just shorten it a little bit? Get to the point, bada bing, bada boom, move on. I'm going to be doing most of the segments. However, I will also try to feature people from the country in these videos as well. So that's the new format of these Geography Now Gray Zone episodes are going to be, okay? Plus, it's my content and it's my channel. I can do what I want. So for those of you that are new to this channel, I spent 10 years of my life profiling every country of the world under the list of the UN countries. But there are also places in this world that fall under sovereignty disputes or partial recognition. And today we're going to cover the first gray zone place, and it's located in the Balkans, aka Europe's happiest family that has definitely never had any drama or arguments with each other. And this gray zone area is everybody's favorite place that has never gotten into any controversy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Kosovo. So, before we begin, I just want to make a disclaimer. I am not here to make any sovereignty claims about Kosovo. I'm just here to explain what the situation is objectively, or as objectively as I can, based off of the knowledge that I know, to you guys and for people that don't know much about Kosovo. I recently went to Kosovo and I got a lot of footage that you'll be seeing in this episode, and I got to talk to a lot of the people living in Kosovo, and I made this entire reference video that you can check out and watch if you want to understand the whole complicated dispute between Serbian and Albanian Kosovar people, because it takes way too long to get into. That being said, what is Kosovo? You may have heard about this place maybe in passing, maybe on the news, maybe on a YouTube video. Something about war, something about conflict, something about Yugoslavia. What? We'll explain more about that later in the video. But first, the fact is, no matter what I say in this video, people are going to get angry, and then people are going to go in the comments and going to write an entire novel of what they think about whatever. That's just how it's going to be, okay? So the best I can do is just lay out the objective facts as best I can, and you guys discuss about it, okay? In the meantime, let's go to the map motion graphic. Kosovo is the diamond-shaped plot of land located in the Balkan region of Europe, landlocked between North Macedonia, Albania, Montenegro, and depending on which side of the argument you lie on, you could say that it is either bordered by Serbia or it is an autonomous region of Serbia. The country is divided into 7 districts, with the capital and largest city Pristina in the north-central part of the country. Pristina also has the largest and only international airport, Pristina International, whereas the second and largest cities are Prizren and Peha. The country also has an extensive road network entering all of the surrounding countries. However, the border with Serbia is complicated. If you are exiting Serbia into Kosovo, there will be no passport control, as Serbia still considers Kosovo part of their country. But if you are exiting Kosovo into Serbia, and if you are not a Serbian national, you may or may not have complications depending on the situation. At any given moment, the border may also be closed due to the political atmosphere, which has happened in the past. Otherwise, the country has a commuter and freight train system run by the state rail line Train Kos that extends to all major municipalities. However, the only country the train has international access to is North Macedonia. Fun fact, when I went to Kosovo, I actually entered through the North Macedonia side from Skopje, where I traveled with my Macedonian buddy Dima, and he helped me get a lot of footage for this episode. So thank you, Dima. Feel free to follow him. He has a YouTube channel. He is the first and only known North Macedonian to make content exclusively in English. So yeah, he does a lot of like social commentary stuff. I don't know if that's your thing. Follow him though. Anywho, so now you're probably wondering, okay, why do I keep saying Serbia, Serbia, Serbia? Like, what does Serbia have to do with this whole thing? And why is there they're like a weird thing with the border. If you have time, check out the video that I referenced. But if you don't have time, try to summarize it quickly. Basically, Kosovo has two main demographics. The majority Kosovar Albanians and the minority Kosovar Serbians. So for much of the 20th century, Kosovo fell under much of the iterations of what was formerly Yugoslavia. This meant that Kosovo was the only non-Slavic majority region in all of former Yugoslavia. After Tito died, the Yugoslav Republic kind of broke away into the 6 countries that we know today. And this was when the area of Kosovo kind of wanted to jump on that whole independence train thing, or some of them wanted to unify with Albania. Unfortunately, that prospect didn't happen, which led to the Kosovo War, which led to the UN intervention in 1999, which led to a whole new global proxy thing. In any case, in 2008, Kosovo declared independence, or at least the Albanian majority within Kosovo declared independence. And today, over 100 countries, I believe the exact number was 108 countries, have recognized Kosovo as a country, or about 56% of the UN. This means to some people, Kosovo is considered a country, whereas for the others, it is considered an autonomous region of Serbia. So again, it really depends on who you ask. In Kosovo, these are the regions of where the Serbian community makes a majority. As per the Kosovo constitution, they are allowed to offer services within the Serbian language. So in 2013, the EU brokered the Brussels Agreement. Basically, it allowed the two to function logistically with each other without Serbia officially recognizing Kosovo. In fact, if you go to like the Belgrade airport, they even put up like signs on the walls that say like, look, we will work with the people in Kosovo, but we are not recognizing them. Just a heads up, like they put up signs in the airport. The biggest move of this agreement was giving the Serbian minorities integration into Kosovo's legal system, rights, and a degree of autonomy through the planned association of Serb municipalities. This included things like energy, telecommunications, judiciary practices, policies, paperwork, IDs, license plates, property documents, and so on. Now, the Serbs living in Kosovo right now, they have a lot of opinions about this whole thing, but it's at least kind of something that allows them to live there with paperwork so that it's not all confusing and then everybody doesn't go crazy. Kind of. Then in 2020, the Washington Agreement, brokered by the USA, was initiated, which aimed at normalizing the economic relations between the two. The agreement encompassed commitments to infrastructure projects, energy cooperation, and the mini Schengen Initiative, or Open Balkans, which Kosovo has yet to still join due to what they say are concerns over Serbia's possible influence. The whole Open Balkans thing, man, that's another topic, but like if they joined it, then like Serbia could come in and say more things, but that if they don't join it, then it kind of makes things more, it's a weird chess game. A lot of the projects are still yet to be enacted, and people are complaining about how long it takes for everything to get done, but at least on paper, everything was signed, so it looks good for now. Kind of. Asterisk. In any case, formalities aside, the land of Kosovo is actually filled with a lot of amazing sites to check out, some of which are UNESCO sites. And here's a list of some of the top places you might want to check out if you ever decide to visit. First, we got Gračanica Monastery, a UNESCO site, Sultan Mehmet Fatih Mosque. The whole city of Prizren is considered a cultural capital for Kosovo. Rugova Canyon near Peha is awesome. You got Brezovica Ski Resort, Prishtina's Newborn Monument, Ethnological Museum, the National Library, the Ulpiana Archaeological Site is pretty cool. I actually got to go there and get this drone footage. And I want to take this moment to note that like when I went there, one weird thing you will notice, there are American flags everywhere. It's crazy. Even like on the billboards and the buildings and the signs, it's like America. Even their bread has like American flags on the packaging. And it's weird, like the civil layout of the whole city, it's weird. It's like they try to emulate the American style of like, you know, strip mall and shopping plaza over here with the sidewalks over there and the glass high rises. Like it's weird because you notice that they did come from like this like Yugoslav socialist bloc brutalist type of atmosphere, and they're trying really hard to like get rid of that aesthetic with like glass and steel high rises, and it's so weird seeing all that, but I don't know, I thought that was pretty interesting when I went there. Well, on that note, aside from the civil layout of Kosovo, you will notice that there's actually a very fascinating and intriguing physical landscape side as well. Let's talk about that in the next segment, shall we? So the land of Kosovo may be small, but it is definitely not a place to be dismissed. There's a lot going on in these rugged hills and valleys, and if you blink too fast, you might miss something really cool. But first, let's explain in the motion graphic. First of all, Kosovo is about 2/3 mountainous, made up of the Shar Mountains in the south and the Kapaunik Mountains in the north. Further, you find the Accursed Mountains in the west and southwest. In between these mountain ranges lie the Drenica and Kosovo Plains, where most of the agriculture can be found. Obviously, from these mountains are sourced the various various rivers that flow through, such as the White Drin and the Sitnica, the longest river that flows completely within Kosovo. Otherwise, the largest inland body of water would be Lake Uimani, also known as Gazivoda Lake, formed by the Uimani Dam. Historically, the country was famous for having the 5th largest ignite deposit in the world, which of course also plays a huge role in their economy. I love the Balkan landscape. It's just like these nice, pristine mountains and hills. Yeah, there's a lot of drama going on, but like, it's beautiful! Within the hills, you may occasionally find some wildlife as well. Typical Balkan animals can occasionally be found here, like wild pigs and deer and kestrels and storks. When I was driving by the border with Montenegro, I noticed there were a lot of foxes in the mountains. It was pretty cool. They were like cute little foxes. And of course, the name Kosovo comes from the Serbian word for field of blackbirds. A lot of blackbirds here, so yeah. Pristina even has a sanctuary for rescued brown bears, so there's that going on too. According to the World Bank, Kosovo is considered a middle-income economy, and they have functions that follow principles of a free market and a large private sector. Nonetheless, the unrecognized status, especially from large economies like Russia and India, kind of hinders them from joining certain IGOs. In addition, they also have quite a noticeable emigration rate of Kosovars going out of Kosovo, and they have seen a population decline in the past 10 years, so make of that what you will. In any case, moving on, let's talk about food. So, being a Balkan country, obviously you're gonna see a lot of Balkan elements in their cuisine. Some of the top dishes you might want to check out include flija, which is a layered pancake thing with cream and butter, pite, which is basically just the same thing as burek, they just call it something else, tavikosi, which is baked lamb or veal with rice and yogurt egg sauce, pasul, which is bean stew and smoked sausage or meat, shari cheese from the Shar Mountains. Like all the other Balkan countries, you're gonna find a lot of cevapi, or they call it kebapa here. The only difference is they usually don't use pork, they use beef and lamb because of the Muslim majority. And of course, you're never short of finding a good bottle of rakia. All the Balkans drink it, even the Muslims, they drink it. Like, you can't be Balkan without rakia. It's just how they do. Fun fact from my experience, when I went to a restaurant in Kosovo, I remember I ordered a pizza, but they offered me mayonnaise with the pizza. I made a post about it on my social media, and then like a lot of my European subscribers, obviously not the Italians, they were horrified, but a lot of the other Europeans, they're like, yeah, we also put mayonnaise on our pizza. That's not something new for just Kosovo. I was like, really? Now, I'm part Italian, so this to me, I felt like was a complete abomination to my ancestors. But, you know, the Korean side in me was like, just eat it. So I tried it, and I actually didn't hate it that much. It's not my favorite, but it was digestible. Anyway, just like the food of Kosovo, there's a lot of hints and flavors that tells you the story about this place, and nothing tells you more about the story of Kosovo than the people. So let's move on to the next segment, shall we? So first of all, someone living in Kosovo is technically called a Kosovar, but that title really depends on who you're talking to. Like a lot of the people in the Serbian community, they don't even like that title. They're like, no, I'm just a Serbian and this is Serbia. But like, it depends. Whatever, I'm getting too ahead of myself. Let's just explain with this demographics graph, shall we? For one, Kosovo has about 1.6 million people and has the youngest population in all of Europe, with an average age of 34. Getting exact demographic data is a little complicated because the census was boycotted, mostly by ethnic Serbs and some Romani communities in 2011, so the numbers could be skewed. Based on my data I compiled though, by taking in municipal populations in Serb-dominant areas and estimating, the country is obviously predominantly inhabited by ethnic Albanians that make up about 90% of the land, whereas the second largest group, the Serbians, make up possibly somewhere around 8%. The remaining 2% is made up of various other ethnic groups like the Turks, Croats, Bosniaks, and Romani. Just a heads up, they use the euro as their currency, they use the C and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Language-wise, upon declaring independence, officially within their constitution, Kosovo is considered a bilingual nation, with Serbian and Albanian being official languages. However, although the country is officially bilingual, most people just speak the language of their people and English as a lingua franca. The Albanians do not learn Serbian and the Serbians do not learn Albanian. As per the constitution though, all the communities are allowed to teach and use their own languages and have services offered in their own languages. So like even the Turkish community is allowed to speak and teach Turkish, the Bosniaks, the Gorani, and so on and so forth. Faith-wise, the majority of the Albanian Kosovar community is mostly Muslim, to varying degrees of devotion. Some consider themselves more like culturally Muslim rather than actively practicing. Islam was mostly brought in by the Ottoman times. However, some of the Albanians are actually Catholics as well. And of course, for the Serbians living in Kosovo, obviously, almost all of them are Serbian Orthodox. So here's where the story gets a little convoluted. What exactly is the real backstory behind Kosovo, and I mean like as far back as we can go. Well, the earliest written sources that we have today that explain who was inhabiting this area come from the ancient Greek geographers Strabo and Ptolemy, who wrote about the Illyrians and Dardanians, whom were a subgroup of the Illyrians, living in this area first mentioned in the 7th century BC. So that begs the question, who were the Illyrians? Well, we don't really know much about them. Like, they were mentioned in passing in a lot of historical Greek documents, but their culture and language wasn't really expounded upon much. Basically, they were an ancient Indo-European Proto-Balkan group. What we do know is that they were built on a loose confederation of tribal groups. They were known for doing things like burying their elites in these large tumulus mounds and had distinctive geometric motifs and symbols on their jewelry and armor. The only references we have to the ancient Illyrian language are just a few small words mentioned in manuscripts, as well as place names in the areas that they lived in. So it's really hard to understand exactly who they were. However, Albanians claim to be descended from Illyrians, and the Albanians in Kosovo claim to be descended from the Dardanian subgroup of the Illyrians. Over time, the areas of where the Illyrians and the Dardanians lived in were taken over and subjugated to various other people groups and empires and kingdoms. But here's the kicker. In around the 6th century AD, the Slavic migration started to move southwards and into the Balkans. And then they split off into new groups like the Croats and the Slovenes and the Serbs. And that's how South Slavs basically began. And then after the Ottoman Empire was over, bam, Albania gains independence. However, the areas of what are now considered Kosovo fell under the various iterations of what would soon be considered Yugoslavia. So in a sense, Kosovar Albanians had quite a different upbringing from their Albanian cousins in Albania. Like, Kosovar Albanians obviously were raised in a heavily Yugoslav structure in Yugoslav times. They had to learn Serbian, they had to learn Yugoslav values, they had to live more of like an agrarian-based society in the mountains of the Balkans, whereas Albanians in Albania had a little bit more of like a Mediterranean influence, especially since they had large trading ports on the Adriatic coast. And even historically, the coast of Albania had a lot of links to the Republic of Venice. You know, a lot of like Italian-based ideologies kind of like permeated the coastal Albanian areas. Nonetheless, it's not only just the Albanians and the Serbs, there's also other small minority groups like the Turks and the Romani, the Gorani. Ooh, the Gorani people, they are very unique, especially mostly to Kosovo. They live in the South Gora mountain region. They're known for very distinct customs and traditions, especially the painted bride ceremony, where for weddings, the bride goes through a super long process of getting dressed up in a very elaborate dress, and her face is painted with these amazing elaborate geometric patterns and colors with adhesive jewels and gems. My friend Eva Zubek actually did a video where she went through the whole process of becoming a Gorani bride for a day, and it was quite the documentary. Check it out. In any case, Kosovo has also made some accolades in athletics. They were officially recognized by the Olympic Committee in 2014, and the UEFA and FIFA have both recognized them, and in 2014, they played their first official FIFA football match against Haiti. It ended up in a draw. But if there's one sport that Kosovo kind of excels most in, they really like judo in Kosovo for some reason. So much to the point where in 2016, their first Olympic Games ever, they won not only their first medal, but their first gold medal, and it was in judo. 4 years later, at the Tokyo Olympics, they got 2 more medals. Maybe it's just their women that love judo. I don't know, because so far all the medals have been won by women, so I don't know what to say. Music-wise, there's a lot going on as well. However, I'm going to give this to one of our Kosovar geography peeps. Guys, say hello to Aulan.
Hey guys, I'm Aulan and I'm going to explain briefly about the music of Kosovo. First of all, most traditional music we have is folk music, and often featuring instruments such as çifteli, sharki, lahuta, and flutes. For the Albanian folk music, it is usually done in the Geg dialect, specific to northern Albania and Kosovo. There's also lots of Ottoman and Slavic influences due to the centuries of the Ottoman and Slavic culture. Kosovo has a thriving pop and hip-hop scene with artists such as Dafina Zeciri, Capital T, and Butrin Timeri, Dua Lipa. Born in London to Kosovar Albanian parents, she maintains close ties to Kosovo and is a cultural ambassador. Rita Ora, also born to Kosovar Albanian parents. And festival and events, we have Dokufest in Prizren and Gom Fest that celebrate music and film. And then we have Sunny Hill Festival, founded by Dua Lipa and her father. And this major music festival in Pristina brings global acts to Kosovo and supports local artists also.
Thank you, good sir. So we've covered a lot in this segment. I hope maybe you're kind of understanding a little bit more about what the people in Kosovo are like. Now let's talk about how this place reaches out to the rest of the world. In our final segment, So this is where the story of Kosovo gets even more complex, because as a partially recognized state, diplomacy is probably the most important and biggest thing that they can focus on for the very sake of the continuity of their sovereignty claim. The entities and countries that probably have the closest relationship with Kosovo today, or at least the self-governing body of Kosovo today, would probably be as follows. For one, the USA and NATO alliance countries are obviously close allies. If you come to Kosovo, you will see USA flags everywhere as an homage to the US helping them in the NATO allied intervention of 1999. There is even a statue of President Bill Clinton in Pristina, who was the president at the time of the intervention. Otherwise, most of the EU would also probably be considered close allies, as they are not only the largest economic and institutional supporter, but they also helped facilitate the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. Spain, Greece, Romania, Slovakia, and Cyprus are EU members that do not recognize Kosovo though, most likely because doing so would open up the doors for their own internal separatist concerns. Turkey has always been a supporter of Kosovo, as they are kind of like an era that maintained cultural and religious ties to the Ottoman era legacies, and today Turkey supports their military and infrastructure development. The non-EU Yugoslav countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and North Macedonia also get along relatively well with them as former Yugoslav states. They have a shared history and culture, and both nations also have notable communities of Albanians. But the one nation that probably gets along best with them would probably be Albania, as most people in Kosovo are ethnically Albanian, as they see themselves as one people. It's just that Kosovo got more Yugoslav influenced. Anything Kosovo strives for, Albania is always the first one to support them and immediately hops on board. These two love each other. In conclusion, it's a very complicated situation in which everybody is claiming everything and denying everything that the other side says. There's no easy way to go about it. In the end, it's a narrative that just won't go away on either side, but the world keeps spinning, another day keeps dawning, and it's just kind of like, how long will this awkwardness keep going on for? Nobody knows, but in the end, we'll just have to find out in time. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Stay cool. Stay tuned. Subscribe if you want to. I don't know.